Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to our online Kashmir Cultural Heritage Awareness Series. Today is our 99th series on the topic Extraterrestrial Exploration through Kashmir Shaivism. Tantra Jnana Mem Tantramsa Aur Yantra. And it's going to be by Dr. Karthik. First, we will begin with our prayer by Chandramouli sisters. I will give an introduction about you. You can go ahead with the prayer.
Start பண்ணுங்க prayer.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. பிடியதனுரு உமை கொளமிகு கலியது வடிகொடு தனதடி வழிபடும் அவரிட கடி கணபதி வர அருளினன் மிகு கொடை கடி கணபதி வர அருளினன் மிகு கொடை வடிவினர் பயில் வலில் வலமுறையே பரசுபாணியர் பாடல் விநாயர் பரசுபாணியர் பாடல் விநாயர் பட்டினத்துறை பல்லவனி சரத்து அரசு பேணி நின்றார் இவர் தம்மை அறிவாரார் பட்ட நெற்றியர் நாட்டமாடுவர் பட்ட நெற்றியர் நாட்டமாடுவர் பட்டினத்துறை பல்லவனி சரத்து திட்டமாயிருப்பார் இவர் தம்மை அறிவாரார் அரியானை அந்த நர்த்தம் சிந்தையானை அருமறையின் நகர்த்தானை அணுவையார்க்கும் தெரியாத தத்துவனை தேனை பாலை திகழொழியே தேவர்கள் தங்கோனை மற்ற கரியானை நான்முகனே கனலை காற்றே கனகடலை குலவரையே கலந்து நின்ற பெரியானை பெரும் பற்ற புலியூரானை பேசாத நாள் எல்லாம் பிறவானாலே அம்மையே அப்பா பிலாமணியே அன்பினில் விளைந்த ஆரமுதே பொய்மையே பெருக்கி பொழுதினை சுருக்கும் பொழுத்தலை புலையிலேந்தனக்கு செம்மையே ஆயா சிவபதம் அளித்த செல்வமே சிவபெருமானே இம்மையே உன்னை சிக்கன பிடித்தேன் எங்களருள்வதினியே பாலுக்கு பாலகன் வேண்டி அழுதிட பார்க்கடல் என்ற பிரான் தன்னை மாலுக்கு சக்கரன் நன்று அருள் செய்தவன் மன்னிய தில்லை தன்னுள் ஆளிக்கும் அந்த நர்த்தம் வாழ்கின்ற தில்லை சிற்றம்பலம் வேடமாக பாலித்து நட்டம் பயில வல்லானுக்கே பல்லாண்டு கூறுதுமே உலகலாம் உணர்ந்து ஓதற்கரியவன் நில உலாவிய நீர்வழி வேலியன் அழகில் ஜோதியன் நம்பலத்தாடுவான் மலர் சிதம்படி வாழ்த்தி வணங்குவான் திருச்சிற்றம்பலம்.
Tiruchitrambalam. Thank you very much. That was really wonderful. I really appreciate that you could join us today. Now, we are seeing actually on the right side is Matangi. On the left, we have Srividya. Matangi is a final year CA student, and she has already cleared one group. She will become a chartered accountant very soon. And we have Srividya on the left, Chandramouli sisters, daughter of Chandramouli. And Srividya is a third year BAMS, Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery at Sri Jayendra Saraswati Ayurvedic College, Nazareth, Pet. Now, their first guru was their grandfather, Sri Venkatraman, District Education Officer and a Tamil scholar. They had the privilege of learning from him. He taught them all slokas, Carnatic music, and Devaram. Now they are continuing under Sai Randri Krishnan for 7 years. They're also performing on stage. We look forward to seeing you, Srividya and Matangi, more in our Kashmir series. Thank you very much for joining.
Sure, thank you, sir.
We now thank Sri Kanchi Mutt for our ongoing Kashmir cultural heritage awareness initiatives and offer our namaskarams to His Holiness Sri Shankara Vijayendra Saraswati Swamigal. Kanchi Mutt has always been in the forefront, modestly working with the sole aim of national integration, spiritual enlightenment, and preserving the uniqueness of Kashmir, as Kashmir is our cultural heritage. We are now very pleased to welcome. We are very pleased to welcome Dr. Karthik Ramesh. Karthik is no stranger to us. He has appeared twice in our program, and he is a research scholar at BITS Pilani and founder SAIMA Labs, TriKoYan, Chief Growth Officer, TaskBench, Botswana, and has appeared twice in our series, as I mentioned earlier. Those were on Secrets of Astrophysics from Kashmir Shaivism, sometime in July and August 2023. I remember Dr. Karthik mentioning spirituality begins where science ends. And he's continuing his research on Kashmiri Shaivism, where we have had a number of sessions before. Dr. Karthik, are you able to hear?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I'm not able to see your video. There is some glitch, I guess.
Am I audible to you?
Yeah, I can hear you, but video is not coming up. Video is not.
Okay. Is it better now?
Now okay. Yeah. Yeah, again, once again, thank you, Dr. Karthik, and we're very happy to welcome you again. You are this is your third appearance in our series, and we are very privileged having you. So, Shaivism research scholar.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Namaskaram. I hope I'm audible and visible too.
There's still some audio issue, I guess. Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. I'm also audible.
Yeah,
also
okay.
audible, right?
Yeah, now it's okay. Please. There's still some audio issue, I guess.
Can you move me from the other one? There is a Karthik Ramesh presentation, and please be moved on that. Yes, that is better. Remove
this
it.
one.
I think you can me now clearly.
This one is okay.
Yeah. Great. So first of all, my pranams to the most revered and venerable feet of Mahapariva and our dearest Kanchi Pariva today, because of whom I'm here again. Yeah, this is perfect. I think I can hear, and I'm
yes. Please
able to speak as well. Is it fine? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So this is, as we say in Sanskrit, there is Trikarna Shuddhi. I feel that the first time I came to this show, that was the purification of the thought of Kashmir Shaivism, and that of Trikarna Shuddhi was happening at a thought level. When I came with certain ideas, I came with certain thoughts. And moving to the second session where I spoke about Kashmir Shaivism and quantum physics, I think I reached the second phase of putting a lot of these ideas into work. third session of Kashmir Shaivism, I realized that it is almost like completing the TriKoYan. So I was wondering, how does all of this fit? How does Kashmir Shaivism, quantum physics, extraterrestrial research in terms of search for intelligent life, how does all of this fit together? So sharing certain aspects, and I want to first show this particular lady. Okay, so one of the most fundamental aspects of quantum physics is that of what Albert Einstein spoke about as spooky effect at a distance. Sorry, I know this is a spiritual session, but I need to set a context for what I believe is the Yantra and the Kashmir Shaivism Tantra. As we know, our ancient scriptures, our ancient elders, if I can say so, they have been with illumination of the highest level of knowledge, be it our Puranas, be it our scriptures, be it our Vedas. And many of these truths, I think we were self-aware. There is really no need to, if I can say, rediscover this truth. The truth is eternal, it is changeless, and I think a certain level of awareness is what comes in the 114 methods which is given in Vigyan Bhairav. Exploratory search, this is something which is an internal search. It is a search which are already self-evident, the truth which is already known. In Vigyan Bhairav, we see that Lord Shiva has taught, as we know, through this series, many great elders, many great experts have spoken about this, written by the famous Kashmir Shaivite Abhinav Gupta, and actually translated as a discourse between Bhairava and goddess Bhairavi. And there were around 112 different tantric methods or yuktis which were taught as dharanas, the way of exploring or knowing the ultimate truth just by being aware of yourself. So what has all of this got to do with extraterrestrial search, exoplanet search? So during the course of my ongoing research, which is by the grace of Periva, I hope concluding this year, I realized that anything which does not have application, knowledge which does not have any application, knowledge which is not put to useful benefit for the society is of no use. And today, the biggest question which is coming in front of all of us is there something beyond what we know as this beautiful Bhuloka, this planet Earth? And our Vedas also talk about different levels, different planes of existence. There are 7 spheres above, 7 spheres below, the heavenly and the hellbound, as we describe it. Does one really need a yantra or a machine alone to go through and explore the outer recesses of space versus discovering many of these truths from within? Again, in our ancient scriptures, there is a very famous story of a musk deer which goes about searching for the source of its scent, which is always near its neck itself. Similarly, I feel at times science is rediscovering the infinite realms of spirituality, of Adhyatmika. And we have been blessed, especially from a Kashmir Shaivite standpoint, to see that in this Bhairava Tantra, in this Vigyan Bhairava Tantra, when goddess Bhairavi asks Bhairava, how does one know the reality? There is a very, very strong similarity, I will say, between this extraterrestrial search, which today man is using yantras for, and this inward search, which was prescribed by none less than Bhairava himself. How does one enter into 112 different ways to realize the universal transcendental nature of one's consciousness? And that is called as the true reality of oneself. Now, if I extrapolate or if I draw a similarity to the yantric search, if there is a word I can say like tantric, yantric, in terms of using yantras, using machines, using the power of quantum computers today. Today we use more of supercomputers. Quantum computers is at a research level. But a lot of my research today at Pilani and otherwise through another trust of myself called as the Sanatan Jnani Trust, we are trying to establish some of these truths which are more inward focused. And it is almost as if this inward focus on the higher realms of existence, on the higher truths, allows us to not only become aware of the true nature of our reality, but also allows us to find, as Western science calls, as the truth out there. So a study of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra reflects one's inner reality and possibly helps to kind of project that understanding that everything without is actually within. In my ongoing research at Pilani, one of the aspects is to connect tenets of Kashmir Shaivism. Especially, I have mentioned in my previous talks of Spandakarika. Today, physics is at the verge of searching for what is called the unified field theory. So is there something, is there one force which is basically connecting all of the other known powerful forces of nature? Are there certain elementary particles? Is there something beyond what we knew as classical and modern physics? UFT, as we call it, unified field theory, is basically, again, of something which is within. It is something which is elementary, particles which operate in both a physical and a virtual field. And when particles which are elementary, which are part of a physical and virtual field, combine together, you almost get what is called as the unified field. This term was coined by none other than Albert Einstein himself. And why did he do it? Because he wanted to explain his general and special theory of relativity. He wanted to connect it with forces of electromagnetism. In a similar vein, if one looks at the tenets of Kashmir Shaivism, not just Abhinav Gupta, one of my personal favorites, Laldev Laleshwari, who lived in around the 6th to 7th century AD in Kashmir. She had this uncanny vision and she could see things beyond the very obvious. And this expressed through Lal Ded's poems called as the Lal Ded Vaks. I've touched upon this again in some of my previous talks, but I'm connecting this yantra, which modern science is trying to use to do extraterrestrial research, exoplanet research, which says that the truth is out there, with something which we call in Kashmir Shaivism as the TriKoYan Shaivism. It is a non-dualistic philosophy. And on this side of science today, what was talked about by Kashmir Shaivite saints so many thousand years ago, even before the birth of some of the luminaries of the physics field, why Albert Einstein, even Isaac Newton was not born. And if I'm not mistaken, he was born in 12th century, whereas Abhinav Gupta and others were almost 8-9 centuries before him. And what is it which these stalwarts of Kashmir Shaivism were seeing? The word Trika, again, I spoke about Trikarna Shuddhi. in the process of my self-discovery of research, which was going on in this PhD of mine, and coming here in the third time. Similarly, Abhinav Gupta and most other Kashmir Shaivites spoke about the three aspects of para, para, and apara. Trika or Kashmir Shaivism cannot merely be restricted only to Kashmir Shaivism. The concepts are very similar to the Shiva Agamas. And one of the most important texts which I have already referred in the course of this discourse is that of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. Most of the practices in Kashmir Shaivism, we say, are tantric. They are beyond the physical body. They happen in isolation. Some of these techniques even happen in the smashana. Most of the extraterrestrial exoplanet research is also happening almost in the vacuum of space. Again, there is a similarity. So one side, while we talk about unified field theory, here we are talking about oneness with universal consciousness. One side, when some techniques of Kashmir Shaivism are talking about going to a secluded place and performing certain acts, today scientists are sending not only probes and devices which happened recently. We went and encountered an asteroid. All of these things are happening well outside the physical realm. Again, one can see that there is almost a parallelism because the truth is out there. The truth is not here. Similarly, Kashmir Shaivism is teaching us to look beyond our senses, to look beyond the obvious, to look beyond our eyesight, our hearing, our smell, our touch. Transcendental meditation, something which is going way beyond the senses, which cannot be understood. If one draws similar parallelism to the search for extraterrestrial, life, it is something which human nature cannot comprehend. It is beyond the senses. So what I'm alluding to in this particular discourse again is that there are several aspects, several tenets of Kashmir Shaivism, which are focusing on voidness, on emptiness, on the truth within, on the elementary levels of our own body, in secluded places, places where no human will venture to go. And if you almost mirror this to what is happening in extraterrestrial space, similar principles. We are not sending human beings, we are not yet sending manned missions outside, the moon. While I have my own views based on what Mahaperiva has said from a spiritual context about, I heard from my grandmother, I remember that Nejamave ava Chandralokatnam ponala abdin ketar Mahaperiva. So what did he mean by that? Is this huge satellite-like object, which we call as the moon, is this a representation of Chandraloka, or is there something in a more subtle form, which is a state of existence? So what science is leading us to do is to look more and more externally for what we believe as the truth out there, including exploration of the moon, which I humbly say is very, very important for us to make advancements to know what lies beyond. However, is that really the plane of existence of what we call as Chandraloka? And what is Kashmir Shaivism? What is Vigyan Bhairav trying to teach us? Teaching us to go beyond the obvious, beyond our senses, beyond our mind, and to higher levels or higher planes of existence. And many of the tantric practices which were prescribed in Kashmir Shaivism contemplated on organs of our own body which represent emptiness or void. And it was believed that searching for this truth within can come only by studying what is void, what is empty, contemplating upon the bindu, contemplating upon the Sharira, contemplating about the Varna. So many aspects of this are subtle elements of our own physical body. And these are not things which are beyond our physical body. Our body is structured, there are enough outlets, one inlet which is mainly our mouth and the nose to take the air. And Kashmir Shaivism focuses on the gap, the interval between breathing. And therefore, my extrapolation to this research that these principles that today science also acknowledges that what we see is possibly and arguably only 2% of what we know as the universe. The 98% of what we call as the visible universe, the night sky, the constellations, the galaxies, all of these which has invoked the curiosity of man and enabled him to think beyond the obvious, all of these things are making us again, like Kashmir Shaivism, focus on some bindus. A distant star appears as a bindu in the sky. A distant galaxy, billions of stars, sometimes are so far away from the Earth, they appear as galaxies. They are in aspect of the bindu. So what am I alluding to? Many years back, just before COVID, I gave a talk to a Carnegie Mellon University supported startup. Rather, this startup hosted a talk of mine, which was a complete scientific talk. And the scientific talk was about the various deep learning, image processing, neural network based algorithms which are driving exploration of planets such as the Mars. So NASA has sent so many probes, so many rovers, as we call it, the four-legged android-like vehicles which go and they pick up samples of soil. Like what happened when the recent asteroid encounter happened, in a fraction of a second, a sample was taken. Again, everywhere there is this aspect of focus, the precision of the instruments which are there. Interestingly, as a noted AI ML expert, and the company which I have is focusing on making AI more sentinel. First of all, is making AI sentinel something which is possible at all? Is it a concept or is it something which is a figment of one's imagination? We do not know. But is there something which we can learn from these principles of image processing, natural language processing, reinforcement learning, which these distant probes, these rovers are using, which have parallels in the fundamental tenets of Kashmir Shaivism? And what are we looking for in these planets? We are looking for the seed of life. We are looking for remnants of microorganisms. It is almost as if the search is for the bijas. And tantric traditions have always spoken about mantras, tantras, and the bijaksharas. Even in advanced practices which are similar to Kashmir Shaivism in different forms of yoga, we focus on certain bija mantras to activate certain planes of existence, certain channels, the chakras we call in our own body, human body. So the point there is also the focus, the precision, and to invoke that seed. In fact, the whole aspect of Kashmir Shaivism is to raise the consciousness to go beyond the Agya chakra to the Sahasrara chakra. It's again through focus on the bindu. And what are these extraterrestrial probes? What are these rovers doing? They are going and searching for that seed, that bija for life. And how does it happen? It happens by precision. How do image processing algorithms work at the fundamental level, processing the pixels, the bindus? So philosophically comparing, if such a comparison is possible, we realize that we are more and more relying on some of these principles which have been eternal truths in Kashmir Shaivite text. Some of the, if I can say, very disruptive techniques of self-realization. Kashmir Shaivism in the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, we talk about exploring the gap between two breaths, or looking between the two eyebrows, or looking at an object and concentrating till we reach a point of void or emptiness. Is something which is actually where one is disengaging the mind and senses from the body. If you look at extraterrestrial research today, be it any of the missions, any of the Tesla launches, any of the payloads which were sending through satellites and orbiting machines, there is this principle again of disengagement. A huge payload weighing several tons with booster rockets leaves the surface of Earth or Bhumata so that it escapes the force of gravity, and reaching a particular altitude beyond the stratosphere, it starts to disengage. So to search for the truths outside, even a rocket, even a probe, even a satellite, even the international has at some point disengaged from its overall physical form, and it has gone to a higher plane of existence. Similarly, contemplating on certain objects, for example, when Mars Perseverance rover was sent, or even the current experiments with Chandrayaan and other Chinese, Japanese rovers, all of these are going to explore the search for water or jala on what we call as the moon. What is happening is we are also creating a perspective which is a perspective of being broad, of vastness. Most of the cameras, most of the sensors study the terrain when they are exploring these exoplanets, these distant bodies which are physically away from the Earth. And we see sometimes, beautiful pictures, the panoramic view of Mars, the red Mars, which we call Mangal. Everything so red, not as beautiful blue as our Earth, Mother Earth. What are we seeing? We are seeing a panoramic. What are some of the traditions? What are some of the techniques of Kashmir Shaivism telling us? They are telling us to look at the horizon. They are telling us to expand our consciousness and become one with the supreme and the highest consciousness. At this point, I want to once again turn my reference to Lal Ded and her Vaks. We all know the story, and for those who are not aware or initiated into Lal Ded and her Vaks, Lal Ded was a very troubled homemaker by her mother-in-law. Sounds like a cliched, what we see as a soap opera in TV today, but she lived that in reality. And often suspected for infidelity by her husband and mother-in-law. She got so frustrated, she used to sit on the shores of the river and look at the flowing river, the mountain, the expanse, again looking at the horizon. And what did she discover when she looked at the horizon? Many of her Vaks says, I saw Shiva and Shakti in unison. When she saw the sun, she saw the moon, she could see only Shiva and Shakti. If you look at the Spandakarikas, the pulsations, the throbbing in Kashmir Shaivism again, we talk about the subtle aspect of Shiva, which when vibrating or engaging with Shakti, creating certain vibrations. Modern string theory talks about everything in this world similarly being connected by strings. And why is this reference to vastness, expansiveness, horizon important? Almost in the 350 plus Vaks which Lal Ded has written, everything she has concluded is some aspect of Lord Shiva, as is the principle of Kashmir Shaivism. So she is not always put in that league or seen in that platform. Her Vaks are very famous, but especially in Kashmir. But what my research has also decoded is some fundamental laws of modern physics, almost in a quantum cryptography encrypted method, similar principles. In the poetic literature of her Vaks. Even before Isaac Newton was born, here is Lal Ded talking about the invisible force or the love which holds or makes the earth go around the sun so beautifully, or the moon go around the earth so beautifully. Technically, we know she was not educated. In those days, science was not as advanced as it was possibly even in our Puranic times, or the times when our ancient Indian rishis could literally see through everything in terms of its ultimate reality and also know many of these physical laws. But somewhere we lost that tradition, I think, for various reasons, including invasions. So a person like Lal Ded did not have access to the knowledge of the rishis, but she was a rishi herself. She was called Laleshwari. My research, therefore, is leading to several aspects of quantum physics. The way she flows in her poet, she goes between different states, different moods. One side, she even scolds people who distinguish between castes and creed. One time, she talks about the rich and poor, saying that you should not be obsessed with money alone. Material gain is not everything. One side, we see this, and quantum physics, quantum computing is all about these subatomic particles, again, oscillating between different quanta of energy. In quantum physics or quantum computing, 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2. It can be a variety of possibilities because of the different energy states, which permits us to computationally store data which is far beyond the realm of even supercomputers. So my argument here is not that Lal Ded was a quantum physicist or a quantum computing engineer, like the likes of IBM and Google today, which are one of the two major tech companies which have quantum computer. In fact, in IIT Madras, we have access to the IBM quantum computer. But my positioning here is, if these Kashmir saints, if these Kashmir Shaivite pundits, if the likes of Abhinav Gupta and others knew something which was beyond the sea, they were seeing the unseen, they were experiencing reality in unreal terms, which normal words could not describe. And perhaps, therefore, Lal Ded's sparks were so cryptic, like quantum cryptography, which cannot be hacked ever. So, have they set precedents or principles which modern science and physics, as I give several examples from rockets to orbiters to Mars Perseverance rover or Chandrayaan, all of these, and the aspects of precision, bindu, focus, disengaging from the self, going beyond the obvious, looking at the horizon, looking at the macro, and at the same time looking at the same universe, they also expressed the fundamental unity being Lord Shiva. And what are some of these experiments of modern physics going after? They are going after the subtle realities. We are looking at what lies. Is there something called Higgs boson particle? Let us even go back to the exploration of black holes. If it was possible, we have not sent any mission because nothing will survive the event horizon of a black hole. Is the black hole itself a representation of the principle of Bhairava, of Kal Bhairava, that even time ceases to exist for Kal Bhairava? He is a person beyond all of the limitations of time. And many anecdotes which scientists like Albert Einstein have spoken, that nothing, including light or gravity, and even possibly time, escapes what we call as the event horizon as one approaches, if it was possible to approach a black hole. So we are saying that some exists physically in this universe, including the center of our own Milky Way. We are talking about presence of a black hole, which is very close to the Earth. Some of these things sound scary, science fiction-like, but these are truths which various researches being done across the world by various space laboratories are established. Where I want to draw attention of the listeners is the principle of black hole, the principle of event horizon, seems so similar to the principle of Kal Bhairava. and nothing being beyond that. Not even light. And we have heard of this beautiful story where Lord Shiva appeared as a column of light, and neither the creator Brahma nor the maintainer Vishnu could measure the expanse of that light. Today, science does not know what lies beyond the black hole. Is a black hole a wormhole? Is it? These are all speculations, conspiracy theories, you can call, or hypotheses which are yet to be established. But Kashmir Shaivism was talking, and the whole conversation of Kashmir Shaivism between Bhairava and Bhairava. Similarly, we in the Kashmir Shaivite tradition worship Bhairava as one of the highest lords, nothing beyond that. Can we extrapolate some of these principles into these large cosmic objects which we do not understand today? Do they hold the rahasya? Do they hold the secret? Can unraveling some of these mysteries of ancient Indian scriptures, especially Kashmir Shaivism, can it lead us to some new realities? Moving to another very famous person I referred to, who has written Tantra Loka, Abhinav Gupta. And what happened to Abhinav Gupta? Nobody knows. As per the tale, Abhinav Gupta, at the end of the life, vanished with his followers as he was practicing maybe some of these tantric predictions of Kashmir Shaivism. Intense austerities were being done. He disappeared into the cave. Where did he go? And our entire Shaivism has several such saints who have merged themselves into the enlightened states, gone as a Jyoti. So where did Abhinav Gupta go? And today, quantum physics talks about multiverses, multiverses, parallel universe, parallel realms of existence. We don't know. We don't know if Abhinav Gupta somehow unlocked the reality of existence to move to a different plane of existence. And our own Puranic traditions, our own Vedas, we talk about, when we chant the daily Sandhya Vandanam, we are talking Om Bhuvu Bhuva Swaha Mahajana Tapa Ohum Satyam. So there are lokas even in what we chant. On Amavasya, some of the Rig Vedas we see, and I came across a few shlokas which spoke upon unknown dimensions which open up when the moon is not visible in the sky, the Amavasya, which enables the Pitriloka, where our deceased people are present, the elders and ancestors. They come to the earth, closest to the earth, to benefit. So is there a parallel dimension or a universe being created? Can any scientific mission establish this? Is science therefore limited by just focusing on scientific laws and principles? Is there scope to do more research using some of our ancient traditions, especially that of Abhinav Gupta when it comes to some of his works? As I said, what happened to Abhinav Gupta? What happened to the 1,200 people who are with Abhinav Gupta? Where did they go? Where do our bodies, our soul goes? We transcend. The soul is in transcendental migration across the lokas, either netherworld or higher worlds, depending on our karma. Today, quantum physics is talking about, Einstein coined this term, spooky effect at a distance. Saying that, if I have to give you an example, if I have this, if you can imagine this sphere, this crystal ball as a fundamental particle, and if I could somehow separate it into two parts, and I take one part outside the Milky Way or even to Mars, and I keep one part here, and if I spin this in a particular, or if I change the properties in quantum principles in a particular way, it is easy to predict, or instantaneously the other particle will behave in an opposite way. So there is something with particles which are separated, if it was possible. Today, the possibility to separate is there, but the possibility to measure this kind of a quantum experiment at that vast a distance of light minutes is where science is facing a challenge. And Einstein himself considered that spooky effect at a distance is a theory where there is some information. He denied quantum physics. He denied the fact that something could travel faster than the speed of light. There is nothing faster than speed of light. And what is all of our Kashmir Shaivism, our texts of Abhinav Gupta and all of the great people of the Vigyan Bharat, they are focusing on that inner illumination. Just like science says light is the fastest thing, all the practices is to know the higher truths, higher planes of existence, and to know the ultimate reality, which is possibly itself an illumination, a light or a truth. So this is a very, very vast area. There are several connotations which can be drawn, several assumptions can be made even philosophically. But if one carefully studies, as I've been doing over the last 3-4 years, various texts of Kashmir Shaivism, engaging in some of these practices and extrapolating those principles, are there further principles hidden in the texts of Kashmir Shaivism in Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, which we can implement in modern yantras beyond the aspects which we discussed? Is there a way, just like in meditation, sometimes you alleviate, is there a way to escape gravity for exploratory vehicle instead of using so much of fuel, combustion fuel, and escape velocity of the rocket or the probe or whatever you are calling it, the payload? Is there some hidden truths which we can explore, we can learn, which one, by possibly mastering the senses, by becoming one with Shiva, possibly you get control over even the very elements of nature? Is science willing to do this experimentation? Are we willing to take this to the next level of discussion even? So part of my research effort as I conclude my PhD is towards presenting some of these findings, especially when it comes to quantum physics, modern physics, principles of quantum computing, principles of quantum cryptography, from some of the ancient texts of Kashmir Shaivism. And I believe that embedded deep within this, beyond the obvious, is the highest element of truth which is waiting to be discovered. I intended to present today's talk as a presentation, but through the presentation, I felt inspired to continue it as a talk. And I just want to conclude by making a few other statements. Kashmir Shaivism texts emphasize mainly on 3 aspects: the non-dualistic philosophy. And even if you study, as I said, the works of Lalde, the poems of the literary works, how do you go beyond what is that is obvious, which is a fundamental principle, the curious nature of astrophysics and extraplanetary research is that. Second aspect, Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, how do I get self-realized? How do I know my oneness with the universe? And what is this search for extraterrestrial life all about? Is there a more intelligent species? Are there somebody similar to us? Can we be one with what we don't see? And lastly, when we look at the way the cosmic dance of objects, the synchronity with which it is happening, whether it is the spiral of the Earth around the Sun or the Milky Way or the solar system around the center of the Milky Way, one wonders, as our ancient scriptures said, and what Kashmir Shaivism was trying to do to overcome the forces of Maya, is there a wave-particle duality? Are we really in these physical states of existence, and what we see outside in the night sky, is it really a reflection of what is within? We spoke about Spandakarika's interconnectedness. We spoke about spooky effect at a distance. Is entanglement happening at a cosmic scale that everything is so connected that there is not any separation, there is only one? And that is what the Higgs field theory today is talking about in modern physics. Lalde's works about aspects which are called in physics as superposition, where she transcends, she talks about, for example, cosmic objects like the sun being within and without. And she says also in her verses, there is no difference between oneself and the universe. That one statement which she has made in one of the works, there is no difference. I'm giving the transliterated English version because I'm not so good at Kashmiri yet. there is no difference between me and the sun or me and the universe, is what she says in one of the vows. So is she cryptically referring to the underlying reality that we are living in an extremely connected universe? And above all, one of the most pioneering and classical physics shattering theories, which I want to conclude with, which entire Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is talking about, is to observe, is to be in a state of observation. And in the double slit experiment many years back, physicists said the mere observation of an electron beam passing through double slit made the electron change its behavior. I know I'm getting too much into physics, but basically they were saying in science what philosophy and Kashmir Shaivism has been talking about, that get out of the duality. Just by observing, you will realize that you are not an object, but you are energy, you are pure energy. That resonates so beautifully with the fundamental principle of Kashmir Shaivism, that everything is Shiva and it is a pulsation. It is the change of state of observation which manifests this entire universe. So with that, I thank once again this series. I thank beloved Periva and most respected Mahaperiva and my dear friend Mr. Shankaranji for repeatedly giving me an opportunity. I go into self-discovery mode. I get new ideas when I talk on this topic. And I'm sure that this research is going to bring to light that the greatest computing, the greatest mathematical, greatest physics concepts are ingrained in our Kashmir Shaiva text. Namaskaram. Har Har Shankar, Jai Jai Shankar. Thank you. I think you're on mute.
Namaskarams and spellbound. This is really fascinating. You, I think, only touched upon a little bit. Looks like there's so much to be uncovered. You know, you started when we first, after several sessions of our Kashmir Shaivism, some people told me that this is like a treasure house, what we have. You know, we have now, yours is a 99th. So anyone who is trying to do a research on this, you know, taking a manuscript or anything, we have so much material, especially the previous two coverages, you know, that you did. And the current one is really fascinating, especially what you touched upon, answers to challenges faced by science. And you also mentioned in your last speech, spirituality begins when science ends. I think this is where I think it's all leading to, what you touched upon. Very interesting. And my only thought on this is, in the last 1,000 years that we lost touch, all due to invasion and so many things, if that had continued, maybe more discoveries would have come up, right? If Kashmir existed in the same form beyond that 9th or 10th century. Your thoughts on this?
Absolutely, I agree. And I should, in fact, humbly salute and applaud the efforts, I think, by our Kanchi Mutt also to revive some of the ancient traditions in Kashmir and to give some relevance and bring out the glory of Kashmir as it was. And even the greatest Adi Shankaracharya has traveled all, the person who spoke so much about things which are beyond the obvious in so many different texts. We can go on talking. Entire research can be done on his visits to Kashmir and his text. But you are absolutely right, Shankaranji, that I think had not the invasions happened, possibly we were at the cusp of discovering further subtleties in this truth, especially on Kashmir Shaivism. And it is actually becoming an obsession for me, the Kashmir Shaivism, I should admit, that it opens up dimensions, it opens up realms of thinking. I think even just mere contemplation on Kashmir Shaivism and Kashmir is something which is going to open. It is so nice that finally now we see we say I'm associated in many of the IIMs, IITs, and possibly by Periva's grace, one of the most qualified Indians globally. I've studied in so many IIMs, IITs, full-time programs, executive programs. And it brings me to, again, the concept of Kashmir Shaivism, that when you know so much, you realize you know so little. So more texts we read, the more historically we go back, we realize that so much more is there. As Steve Jobs today is saying, our traditions are always saying, you can connect the dots only by looking backwards and not forwards. For us to connect the dots about science or quantum physics or spirituality, astrophysics, we can only look back and connect to those dots. And I only wish we could go and erase those invasions and more to restore those texts, restore the glory, ancient glory of Bharat. And that is my life purpose and mission, which will unfold in the next few years, that I will continue to connect, aspects of modern physics, quantum computing, cryptography from Kashmir Shaivism specifically.
No, thank you so much. I was so happy when you called a couple of weeks ago or very recently that we can schedule a program. I was thinking that we need an update from you. It was more than 6 or 7 months ago that you appeared in our show. So periodically look us up and keep us updating on the research that is going on. This is really fascinating. And we are able to connect with all this, all the finding, especially you quoted Lal Dutt, and we had few programs on it too, especially by a Muslim scholar. He spoke on Lal Dutt. So
I only want to offer one last word of gratitude to Periva today. We really miss him. He's not in Tamil Nadu on Yatra. 5 years back, very fondly remember just visiting Kanji Mutt. While I had other fellowships and PhD equivalents, he looked at me and he said, I want you to do research on Sanatana. So I'm always grateful to Periva and Mahaperiva that they have literally shown me the way that this is the path you need to take. Apart from all the Laukikam duties and the offices we sit in, I think the search within has to continue. And it is going to be, Kashmir Shaivism is one of the greatest expressions of Sanatan Dharma. I would like to conclude with that. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, and we will continue our platform after we complete our 100th very soon. So keep it alive, and we will keep exchanging news and more discoveries on this.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, listeners, as we all know, today is our 99th, and the next one is going to be 100th. Very soon we will announce we are going to have a very important speaker for our 100th, and I'll keep you all updated. Once again, we want to thank Kanchi Mutt channels, YouTube, Facebook, and Kamakodi.tv, and VDSP for all the streaming support, and not to forget Dinamalar for all the coverages on our Kashmir episodes. They are with us week after week, mentioning about the program and giving more details. Till we meet next time, which is going to be our 100th with a very important speaker, will be announced soon. We look forward to seeing you again in our future programs that will continue for a while. Jai Jai Shankara, Hara Hara Shankara.